Okay, let's look at 8.3 continued, right? Then the second topic of this section is equivalence class, right? So here's the definition, right? Let's say R be any equivalence relation on A, right? Then we have equivalence class. We use this square bracket represented by this element A is equal to a collection of elements such that that element is related to A by this relation R. Right? So let's look at an example. Right? Let's say we have an equivalence relation. X is related to Y if x plus 3y is even. We actually verified that this is an equivalence relation in a previous video, so we know that this is an equivalence relation. Right? So let's look at the equivalence class represented by 1, for example. Right? Then you can see that in order to be related to 1, so x is related to 1 by this relation means that x plus 3 times 1, which is just x plus 3, is even, right? But any number by adding 3 it's even means that it's got to be x itself is an odd number, so x is odd. Alright, so the equivalence class represented by 1 is basically the set of all odd integers. So it'd be plus or minus 1, plus or minus 3, and plus or minus 5, and so on. Right? How about the equivalence class represented by 0? Right? So if x is related to 0 by this relation R, which means that x is related x plus 3 times 0 is even, but this is same thing as x. X is even, right? So the equivalence class represented by 0 is simply the set of all even integers. So it's 0 plus or minus 2 plus or minus 3, actually it's 4, and so on. Right? So those are the equivalent classes. Right? And actually, you can change the representative. You can write it as equivalence class represented by 1 if you want. You can use represented by -5, and so on. They are all the same equivalence class. Right? Same thing, equivalence class represented by 0. You can represent it with a different element, so you can represent it by 2. Or you can represent it by 4 or -4 or something like that. And they are all the same equivalence class. All right, that's it. I hope that this was clear.